Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with actually a brand new series, part 1 of What If Deku had a half fire, half lightning quirk. And I'll be honest, I don't think I've really done much half and half stuff. I think I might have done one thing a long time ago, or actually a good little bit ago, but I haven't done anything recently. I was like, you know what, bro, this kind of sounds cool. I just want to do stuff that sounds cool and sounds interesting to me, and hopefully it sounds interesting to y'all. And I decided, you know what, let's get into this little maybe half fire, half lightning type of quirk. And I'm not gonna waste that much more of your time. As always, if you enjoy, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff, because it all helps me out. With that said, let's get right into what if Deku had a half fire, half lightning quirk. Let's get it. The world of My Hero Academia. This world is something far different than many. Superpowers, other known as quirks, are embedded in one's body basically at birth. Frankly, you are born with at least something that is remnants of a quirk or a superpower. But in the original version of My Hero Academia, Izuku Midoriya was born with none. But what if Izuku, or Deku, is born with a half fire and half lightning quirk that would make him an absolute force? In this world, Izuku was born to a mother by the name of Inko Midoriya and a father by the name of Hisashi Midoriya. But this was a little different. Inko was actually had a very, very faint lightning quirk, but is more like electricity. Something that she can do is just charge phones, something very simple. Maybe charge little outlets, or maybe even give a little bit of an energy boost to a house, but she wasn't able to do anything crazy. His father would be able to breathe fire, just like, well, normal. Izuku would find promise at the really, really young age of only 4. He would actually be able to use some sort of this electricity or lightning off the bat. Inko was completely shocked. It seems even stronger than hers, and he's only a 4-year-old. This is absolutely insane. He can do so much. But that's not the only thing. That is not the only thing Izuku is capable of. And his mother has no idea what's to come. Izuku would be telling his friends exactly what he's able to do. He's able to shoot lightning or electricity out of his left side of his body. But they're confused. What about the right side? Can he not use anything on the right side? And he says no. For some reason, it just doesn't work at all. It seems to be kind of weird. Odd, in fact. But Izuku doesn't really think much about this. He doesn't think about it, frankly, at all. The electricity quirk, or this lightning quirk that he doesn't know exactly what it's about yet, would be more or less studied and learned about when he goes to the doctors. When he heads to the doctors, he's informed about his quirk, informed about this quirk being actually lightning. It seems odd, but it seems that his body can channel lightning itself, and it would get even stronger in bad weather. It seems he has some sort of channeling, so when he is around electricity, it forms into a more potent type of electricity, being that of lightning. And that's why, even at a young age, his lightning seems so powerful. It's only going to get stronger as time goes on, and he needs to be careful. Of course, his mother questions why he needs to be careful. What are the repercussions? And immediately the doctor says that his quirk may be too strong for this world. And what he means by that is his quirk isn't necessarily, well, built to sustain in a human body. It's a high voltage of electricity and could lead to real bad damage. So he needs to train, and train a lot. Of course, this would scare Izuku just a little bit, but that's not it. The doctor would then explain to Izuku that it's actually more than just lightning. It's actually something crazy, something that he's really hasn't seen before outside of just rumors of this boy that has a fire and ice quirk. They're confused for a second, but then he says that his other side doesn't shoot electricity or lightning because it's supposed to shoot fire. And the reason why he's unable to use it at this moment is because not only he struggles to control it, but on top of that, his body would actually collapse entirely if he used it without proper preparation. Obviously, the doctor explains that it seems that his body is slowly but surely conforming to the electricity, or at least half of his body is, to the point where it can sustain itself, at least to a certain extent. His bones are changing to be more, resistant to electricity, but they're not ready for fire just yet. So they should introduce him to fire itself. Yes, it might sound crazy, it might sound absolutely nuts, but they should, or Inko should, look into basically leaving Izuku in high temperatures, saunas, and stuff like that. It would actually benefit him in the long run to allow his body to conform to higher temperatures, because if he utilizes both of the quirk, both lightning and fire, it could become real tricky when the voltage and the fire itself elevates his body temperature to extreme amounts, in which they take this very seriously. But Inko does question why his fire would be this different than his father's. His father, who's obviously not here and isn't going to be here, being an absent father at that works overseas, can only breathe fire. Why did Izuku get something so different? The doctor isn't so sure, but in a way, it feels that the doctor knows something that they don't, as if the doctor is hiding something. It's not necessarily he's hiding something, but he knows about this whole quirk evolution. At the end of the day, quirks are evolving more and more to the point that, some quirks may even be so strong that it hurts the person so badly that it doesn't actually work as a quirk, actually limiting the age of the people that have these types of quirks, or these sorts of quirks, in which the doctor doesn't bring up, but Izuku can technically more or less restrain his body to the point where it gets that he can actually utilize both of these quirks at tip-top shape, but it would be that difficult. That's why this evolution in quirks are actually happening quicker than the evolution of one's body, which is a scary feat at that. Nonetheless though, Izuku goes out pretty happy. He's happy to hear that his quirk is so amazing. Half lightning, half fire? That's insane. He'll definitely be the next #1 hero. He can totally beat out someone like All Might. There's so many things he could do. And on top of this, the training is pretty simple. Izuku would begin training, but his training would actually be kind of, in a way, laughable. It would be like normal training, working out, stuff like that, just getting ready. Nothing crazy. He is a young kid at that. But funny enough, he actually can use his lightning to kind of store energy in different parts of his house using generators. And generators would store his lightning, or the energy that the lightning makes, and it would actually lower his power bill a far bit, and they would make quite a bit of money off of Izuku's quirk by just selling energy back. Might sound like a funny aspect, but Izuku can utilize this on top of basically just training normally by outputting into generators. In terms of his fire quirk, he has to continue to more or less just work in hot environments, and working in saunas and different higher temperature places that they would slowly but surely increase from the normal of maybe 150 or 170 or even higher than that, basically working his way up. Of course, this would be dangerous for a kid, so they would slowly but surely work on this, as Izuku wants to learn how to utilize his fire quirk and get his body ready to utilize it as well. After some time would pass, only maybe about a year, people would start learning about Izuku's quirk, and they would be in complete awe. Teachers would believe that he's the next up-and-coming top hero, and the only person that could really compete is someone like Bakugou. Bakugou is the only one that's going to be able to compete with him, but Bakugou thinks otherwise. Bakugou believes that he's the best, that nobody else can even keep up with him and is remotely close, but obviously this isn't true. This is the farthest thing from the truth. We're talking about someone that has an explosion quirk versus someone that could use lightning and fire. Izuku's basically a dragon, or basically an insanely OP dragon, but that's beyond the point. Izuku would continue his training as he's actually pretty loved by everybody and not bullied by any means. I mean, there's no reason for him to be. He's not quirkless and he has a really strong quirk. But during this time, he would try and keep up with his studies, but it would be pretty difficult to do so when he's training so much. The doctor was serious. He could seriously injure himself if he doesn't basically train properly. So a lot of his time is dedicated to just at least training, quote unquote, or at least utilizing his quirk to the point where he can actually be sustainable. But after some more time would eventually pass, it would actually be perfect timing, and he's able to actually utilize his fire quirk now at about around the age of about 10 to 11. He's able to utilize his fire quirk in very small ways though, igniting burners, lighting a campfire, stuff like that. Other than that, he doesn't want to strain himself, and his other quirk, being that of the lightning quirk, is far stronger. His bones, his body has already adapted to the lightning quirk, at least to a certain extent, but there is some repercussions when overutilizing that said lightning quirk. It seems kind of odd, as if there's supposed to be a perfect balance between lightning and fire, but there is no real balance between them. It's kind of weird in a way. In a way, his body is protecting itself from both fire and lightning, but there is still repercussions. I mean, obviously, right? If he utilizes his lightning for too long, there's a good chance he can go basically be paralyzed for a little chunk of time. In terms of fire, if he overheats himself, there could be serious repercussions on his organs. But luckily enough, his lightning has actually prepared his organs to a certain extent for these repercussions of fire. So in a way, they are balanced, but not to the extent that something like a fire and ice quirk would be in terms of heat regulation. There is no heat regulation with Izuku. That's why he needs to train in such temperatures so often, actually to the point where it feels natural for him to be in extreme heat. But with that said though, he doesn't really know much more about his quirk and what to do to utilize it. But all he knows is he's going to have to learn more and more according to his mother. His mother would put him through training, frankly. Of course, Inko would still be the sweetheart she always is, but actually helping him learn more and more about his quirk and how to utilize it and what are the benefits of using both of his quirks. His fire quirk is still far behind, but as school would pass on and as school would continue on, Izuku would continue to thrive in terms of basically his studies now and also his quirk. Because frankly, we all know that studies only matter when you get deeper into age. They don't necessarily matter as much when you're really young. So he's actually able to study a lot harder, especially when he has way more time on his hands, when he doesn't have to train his lightning quirk so much and he has to just focus on his fire quirk. He would sit in his sauna and basically study as much as possible and utilize basically any recovery he possibly could. But luckily they had extra little bit of money, because frankly all of this utilization of different methods of getting stronger and basically getting more stable have become kind of hard on the wallet. And Inko even brings this up, saying that Izuku has definitely paved his own way, being able to utilize his electricity or his lightning to more or less store energy and sell it has allowed him to do a lot of stuff that he wouldn't have been able to if they were just, normal. Because frankly, they wouldn't have had the money, not even close. So luckily they were able to make that up and actually do something about it. More time would pass and middle school would be coming to an end for Izuku, very soon at that. He's excited, but at the same time worried. What if he's not 100% ready? I mean, it's been a long time and he's been training for a long time, but there's people that might be stronger than him, might be more powerful. Doubt would definitely reign on Izuku, questioning himself over and over, but Izuku would be reassured by his mother, telling him that he's gifted. His father, or obviously Inko and his father, were not as gifted as him, nowhere near. So he really and truly needs to utilize those gifts and transcend exactly what they did. They didn't do anything compared to Izuku. Izuku's already done more than they possibly could have in only 15 years, 14 years, and he's not even a hero yet. Soon, he'll be a great hero, a fantastic one just like All Might. Inko would smile and more or less reassure Izuku of the a pending version of himself that he will get to, and Izuku is happy to hear this because frankly he just needs motivation. He's been working hard and frankly will continue to work hard throughout this entire time. He's still learning, adapting, and learning more and more with his new quirk, or with his quirk in general, so he's going to continue working absolutely extremely hard. The last day of school would then follow. He would arrive at the middle school, they would speak for a little bit, and the teacher would talk about giving all of them job applications for the future. But he decides that he's not going to give them out, because he knows they all want to go the hero route. The hero route down the path of, well, ones like All Might, Endeavor, and many, many more. This makes all of the class excited, cheering and throwing papers into the sky, basically extremely agreeing with the fact that they all want to go the hero route, in which makes them all kind of, over optimistic. Because frankly, not everybody there is going to make it as far as they especially want to make it. The teacher then talks about how Bakugou and Izuku are striving to get into UA, but Bakugou argues that he's going to be the one that gets in. Izuku can't even properly control both of his quirks yet, or his quirk in general. He can only use his so-called electricity side. Izuku corrects him, saying that it's actually lightning, but whatever. Izuku says that he'll be able to control it by the time, well, he needs to. He'll get it all done and get ready to go, and he'll take on UA, get in, and even be better than Bakugou. Bakugou scoffs at this and says that he had amazing control over his quirk since day one. He's a prodigy. Izuku had to work hard for it, and frankly, all that's going to do is fall behind when Bakugou starts turning up the heat. Izuku finds it ironic that he used this idea of turning up the heat, but tells Bakugou that he will not fall behind, that there is no chance, there is no gap too big. Izuku will surpass him and will remain surpassed of him no matter what. Bakugou is pissed that he just said that he just basically undermined the fact that Izuku swears that he's stronger than Bakugou. But Izuku knows it for a fact. He knows his work ethic, he knows the quirk usage, he knows everything that's in his own arsenal is better and going to be better than what Bakugou can do now or ever. Izuku sits as he awaits the teacher to finish up speaking, and everything is eventually wrapped up. Izuku would head outside, and he would be writing in his journal as much as possible, trying to figure out, learn, and anything he could possibly think of, when he's stopped by Bakugou once again. Bakugou grabs his notebook, throwing it as he explodes it, telling him to give up now, that there are too many limits on what he wants to do, and that there is no chance he'll be able to keep up in the long run. No chance at all. Izuku tells Bakugou that he sounds ridiculous. At the end of the day, they both were gifted with an insane quirk. And to sit there and say that there's no chance for him to be a hero, that is absolutely outlandish. Izuku tells him this straight up and tells him that he's going to conquer whatever challenge that's to come, and he'll make sure that's the case. Izuku walks away as Bakugou is livid, pissed, frustrated with the fact that Izuku refuses to give up, but still, maybe he'll give up eventually when he realizes that his body can't hold up. Izuku would leave as he heads out, wanting to actually fix his notebook that was completely destroyed by Bakugou, but unable to do so. He goes the long way back home to try and write up on anything he possibly can to fix his notebook to a certain extent. Izuku would continue to do this as he walks underneath a bridge, but as he walks underneath that said bridge, something occurs. A manhole cover would bust open, and Izuku would look behind him to see a giant green sludge villain running after him. The weird creature is saying that he needs Izuku's body. Something about some pro hero, some All Might? He's not sure. It's all a mumble and all a jumble, and Izuku immediately sees this and he takes off running. He can feel his body immediately atrophy in a way. It's as if it's reacting without him even noticing, as if his body is reacting to the presence of an evil being there, a scary being there. He turns around and he immediately lifts up his left hand as lightning begins to strike all around his arm. His arm would then send out a huge blast of lightning, that the lightning surges around the sludge villain as if it encapsulates him basically entirely. Izuku would then release more lightning as his fireside begins to conjure up, as if the need to be protected is making his quirks react. As the sludge villain is surrounded by lightning, he's absolutely torn to pieces, as if it's a lightning storm that's being conjured around him. Izuku is holding his hand out, struggling, as his body seems to be reacting in a very, very bad way to the usage of his electricity, the usage of the lightning. Izuku would then stop as the sludge villain would be in pieces. The manhole cover would open up once again, and All Might would be there. He would be shocked. The fact that this boy, this kid, he was able to do such a thing, was able to do all that, that's insane. How? Izuku has shocked everything, and All Might is shocked to see a kid, just some normal kid, be able to output such amazing strength. He begins to ask Izuku if he's okay, if he's alright, and Izuku would say that he is. He's actually more than fine. He's a little hurt. His arm feels staticky, but that makes sense when you have a quirk like his own. But overall, he's just fine. He's a-okay. He then realizes who he's talking to. It's All Might, the one and only, standing in front of him. How could he not realize this in the first place? He then greets All Might, asking for an autograph and anything else. He kind of freaks out, frankly. I mean, who wouldn't when it's the number one hero is standing right in front of you, and your hero is standing right in front of you. Frankly, this is an insane time for Izuku, and an insane time overall. Izuku basically loves All Might, and wants to learn from him, wants to be like him, be the number one hero. So Izuku asks a ton of questions, and of course it would eventually lead to All Might saying that he doesn't have that much time to talk. He's gonna have to leave, and he's gonna have to take off to more or less put away this sludge villain, which is definitely understandable. I mean, frankly, the sludge villain needs to be taken care of ASAP. But Izuku just asks him a couple questions. How he became a hero, how he progressed into being a hero, the one he is today, and if he could be the same thing. All Might then says that he doesn't have to be the same. He could be different, better. He can do far different things. He's met many, many, many kids, many, many heroes destined for greatness, but they cloud their own judgment by wanting to be him, by wanting to be something that they're not. But Izuku can be something amazing as well. He really can, as long as he takes it his own direction, his own way. This is the best advice All Might can give him. Train hard, work smart, and get ready for, well, a hard journey. To be a hero, your own hero. All Might says this, and this satisfies Izuku. He also tells Izuku that his quirk is very unique. lightning and fire. It sounds like someone he knows. Sounds like someone very similar. I mean, he knows that the number 2 hero has a kid, and the number 2 hero actually has a boy that has a fire and ice quirk. Izuku is shocked to hear this, and All Might says that he has to go now. But he knows that he'll see Izuku soon climbing the ranks of being a top hero. All Might jumps away with the sludge villain in hand in bottles, and Izuku is just in awe that the number 1 hero, and well, him being the number 1 fan of All Might, it just made him completely speechless at the fact that he gave him such advice. Amazing advice at that. With that said though, Izuku heads home, heading back to his mother, and of course his mother would be pretty concerned, asking if he's okay, and that if he's alright from, everything that occurred and everything that happened. I mean, not many would be okay, but Izuku was happy to get out unscathed, and also with some good advice. The training would be fruitful for Izuku, and that is an understatement. Izuku knows, and really knows, that he has the potential, and he'll continue to have this potential if he just works at it and works hard. He's been working hard all his life, so what's another 10 months to continue to work hard? He begins to train, running, sit-ups, push-ups, all you can think about, every bit of working and stressing his body to get used to his quirk is all the things he did. Throughout his life, he worked with saunas, hot areas, electrical environments, anything you can think of, and he'll continue to do that all the way up into the UA entrance exam, because that is where it matters. All of this training, all of his hard work, everything he's done up to this point will lead up to this, the UA entrance exam. His training would begin for 10 months, and after 10 months of training and studying, the UA entrance exam is inbound, and it's time to take on what is next. Izuku Midoriya will be taking on the UA entrance exam, and when he arrives, he sees a giant building. This building is a gigalith of a building, terrifying in a way. He looks at it and he thinks that this is something that he isn't sure if he's ready for, but he knows he's worked hard enough, so you might as well give it a shot. Izuku would walk in to the building, walk in to see everything so crowded, cramped, and people all around. Izuku would then hear a familiar voice speak to him about how annoying he's here right now. Izuku looks to see it's Bakugou. He ignores him and goes to sit down, and unluckily enough, they have to sit right next to each other. He awaits the present Mike to begin speaking, and the adrenaline begins to rush through Izuku. Present Mike explains that first they will be doing a written portion of the exam, leading to the practical version of the exam as well. He would go do his written portion and get ready for the explanation of the practical. The practical would then be explained, and Present Mike would begin to explain exactly what's going to occur, exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be 1-point robots, 2-point robots, 3-point robots, and so on, and they're going to be taking on those robots to prove that they're able and are worthy of going into UA. These robots will all be evaluated based on point thresholds, and there is also a 0-point robot, one not worth any points and is best to just avoid. Izuku listens, and eventually it would finally be time. This would be Izuku's first chance to show what he's got. His electricity, or his lightning part of his quirk, is strong and honed. His fire side is far different though. He hasn't utilized it to the extent that he should, but he knows he can utilize it to at least a similar and small margin as his lightning quirk. He knows with them in unison and them together, it could truly mix to be a powerful combination. As he awaits the gates that would allow him to hopefully get into UA and lead him to the future he wants, he is terrified, nervous, and when the gates swing open, electricity and fire would run down his body, and it would surround him as he takes off through the sky. He takes off through the air at insane speeds, and when he grabs onto the first robot, and electricity and lightning strikes all around it and it obliterates to dust, a smile would grow over Izuku's face, because this is truly his time to prove to himself and to everybody watching that he can truly be the next big and top hero. The next generation of heroes will then lie on his shoulders. He will be the next #1 hero. He will be the next All Might. Or, in his case, the #1 hero to come is Izuku Midoriya. But he'll finish up this test, and when he does, it will lead him to the pathway of UA. What happens next? Well, you'll have to find out what happens in the UA entrance exam, and what happens in the future beyond just this in the next parts of What If Deku had a half fire, half lightning Quirk. And if you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, and make sure to leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.